All right, so I'm going to get started. And today I have some topics that I had in mind that I know a lot of people usually ask me about, but please feel free to interrupt and ask other questions. I would really love to just have a good dialogue about what you're interested in and what you kind of want to know. And I'll start off just telling you a little bit about our family and our journey and kind of how we became so in love with the forest, so to speak. She's good. You can stay with that. She's fine to sit with me.
Okay. Wait here.
So, our journey. So, my family, we lived in Brooklyn for about 12 years. I thought that you were in the same shirt. In total. So we lived in Brooklyn for about 12 years, and then we moved quite quickly and unplanned. Within like 6 weeks, we moved to New Jersey, and we were not planning to move to New Jersey. So it was something that was probably a little more jolting for myself than anyone else. So when we moved, I was looking for a way to build community and find some friends to hang out with in this new place. And we really enjoyed a class in Brooklyn that was outdoors. It was the first time I had kind of experienced something that was outdoors, all seasons, all weather. So I was like, this is not going to work for me.
Okay. I will. Merit.
So I really was looking for something to help us ease that transition. And I was like, well, we just had been loving being outdoors so much. So I was like, let's just find a way to do that. At that time, my girls were like 6 months and 3. So we went and we found this place nearby, about 10 minutes away, that a friend showed us. And I was like, well, I'm just going to put it out there and see if anyone will show up, and hopefully we'll have 2 friends. And on that day, about 30 families showed up and met us outdoors on a rainy day. And I was just like, whoa. It was just really amazing and fabulous. And we just played in the mud and the puddles all day. And we have since now met so many families, basically in the forest. It's kind of like the running joke when they say, how'd you meet Claudine in the forest? And most people don't know me in this outfit, usually in my forest gear. But yeah, so it was really magical for our family for that transition, and also just having that consistency being outdoors, because we just enjoyed being outdoors so much. And moving from the city where you would walk outside and be outside all the time, I didn't want to lose that when we moved. So it was really something that was great for our family, and then we found so many friends and so many like-minded families that we then created a community with. Sabrina is one of them. We met her in the forest. Michelle met in the forest. So then what happened was, after we went through the fall and the winter, I had other moms saying, well, like, I can't get there, how do I, it's too far, and people wanted me to run more groups, and I was like, I just can't be in all these different places at the same time. So that's when I was like, well, let me just share what I'm doing, because it worked really well, and I kind of figured out all the kinks. So let me just tell you what I'm doing. And that's kind of how Forest School for All was born, just kind of in this passion of where I was like, this was really helpful for my family, and I just didn't want people to try to figure it out if we've already figured it out. So I partnered with Sabrina, another friend of mine, Carrie, to kind of put together a website and make things a little bit easier for families and share the knowledge that we had, so that people didn't have to do all of that research on their own. So this was really kind of born in, let's just share our knowledge. But that's a little bit about our story. This is obviously my family in the forest, and this hike here, this was one of the first times we went out with friends in our local area. I'm going to talk to you through photos, because I feel like they're just very powerful in our experiences. This is from our website. This is just kind of what's happened from our one group. I'd love it. Yeah, come on in. So this is just really exciting because our one group has just kind of spread all over. It's been really fun working with all these different families, and you can see we're in California, Minnesota, Vermont, Virginia. We have two groups in the Netherlands, and this is all just sharing, and it's created this amazing community that's happened organically, where we're just all sharing with each other on what works in those challenges. And Stuart here, he's one of the leaders in Bergen County, New Jersey, and his wife. So it's just really wonderful, and this is so amazing in that all I did was wanted to go out and find two friends, and now we're all just enjoying the forest together. So it's really exciting. So the benefits, we can talk a little bit about the benefits, and I'd love to hear if you guys have experiences being outside, or if you have ever experienced being outdoors and feeling the benefits, the differences. But one of the benefits to me is just fabulous things happen. The kids make great friends. They stand on tables and do amazing things together. Right? That's Eliana and Sabrina's daughter, Avery. Just the magic that happens in the forest is almost, I can't even describe it other than through photographs. So one of the benefits is just the fact that also when children are outdoors, there's no walls. There's no, I need this, I need that. There's always a stick for everyone. There's always a rock for everyone. There's plenty of things to do. And they really, when you have multi-age groups, which a lot of our groups are, and I've had groups where I've had aged infant through 12-year-olds, and when that dynamic comes together, I find some of the amazing things happen with the children, because they all just kind of get together, and the older kids are doing their own thing, but then they also pull in the younger kids, and they've gone off where they're all whittling something together or creating something together, or then there's a structure that appears over here, and so just kind of the exploration aspect of it, and things that they can get from it and learn from it, right? Along with the community. These are just
when first school began, when Claudine proposed to the first meeting, I was just starting to get to know other families that were homeschooling, and I didn't know many people. So our group of friends were regular families who just still kept their children at home, and at that age, we just started getting the kids to preschool or whatever. What is it?
preschool, yeah.
Whatever system. And we lost our friends kind of. Each time another family started school. And I was amazed to go to forest school, and after a few meetings I realized that there is no struggle at all. The children were never fighting, never, right? All these years, never one fight. Never one, I don't know, it's just, it all flows all the time. And it was the first time for me as a homeschooling mom realizing that all these power things do not belong to this kind of community. It was very clear that it's different from the schooling.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing. That's very, very true. A lot of problem solving and happens just within themselves, even without us. We talk to leaders and they're like, what do I have to do to lead? And I'm like, just show up. And then follow the children, because they'll show you where they want to go, right? And they're going to do their thing, and we're kind of observers, right? We're there for support, and they're going to explore and learn. These are just some fun photos, finding little nooks, kids who just kind of want to find some closed space there. It's just like a dream. And this little girl, she's writing it. She's like, I love being in the forest. Just so many different things happen. My youngest started writing letters this summer in the sand. And she didn't want to write it on paper. She would ask, but she would get really frustrated. But then she went and she just started writing letters in the sand with her finger. So it just gives them a different environment to be in and express themselves, and sometimes that helps them, advance in whatever learning it is that they want to do. Also, just kind of chill out time with your friends. I just love these photos of kids just kind of hanging out. And it just kind of gives them that space that they need. There's just space. So if, like the boy who like found the pipe, he just kind of wanted to be in that space, but you can just be in wide open space and hanging out. And, if somebody, if one child needs that, they can get it. And I just always find that that's really beneficial when you have a large group, because sometimes our groups can have like 25 kids show up, and people are like, oh, well, can you have that many kids? And I'm like, yeah, there's no walls. They can go wherever they want. So the dynamic, it really does just flow no matter what. And just kind of really fun and amazing things happen. Like this happened in one of our groups where the kids were just hanging on this, and they just made it a swing. And it was just like a really fun moment where it was just like just hanging on it and swinging on it and working together. And the mom here, our friend Yana, they were like, come help us, because some of the kids ran away. But they all just climbed on and figured out how to like swing themselves, and just to watch that, how they kind of work together and figure things out together, make things happen, is fun. So do you want to talk about any other benefits? The next kind of topic is just kind of exploring through your child's eye.
Well, I can say that before we started doing it, my son was very shy. We wouldn't talk to other kids because they were kind of in. Now, forget it, because there's another kid there that he's asking to play, and he's running around with them. Sometimes they'll go so far ahead of us we can't see them, and we have to call them back.
It's great.
Well, I think that like one of the benefits of spending time in the forest and outside is like the uneven surfaces and the way that children can interact with that. It works different muscles in their bodies, and it connects them to their bodies in a way that they can't get connected to their bodies if they're just always in a house with walls and flat surfaces. And that's like a really powerful thing that is hard to, indoor play spaces try to recreate that, but you can't recreate that in the way that it exists outside. So
yeah, and especially like in the seasons, right? Depending on how your seasons are you experiencing ice and on your hill after you had gravel on your hill, or the tree roots that come up, all those things, and the climbing that happens when trees come down. Like we had a tree that we couldn't walk past. We would spend half hour, 45 minutes at the tree. That's just where we went. That's what we did, and just the testing of
5
the
minutes
things
from
and
the
the
car.
right?
Which was 5 minutes from the car.
5 minutes from the car, exactly. So sometimes you have to go so far, right? You have to go to the deep, deep woods. Sometimes it's just right there. But yeah, and all those, and the kids were really working in harmony together of okay, this branch is loose, so let's not go on that branch, and testing them together, right? Do you want to share anything from that?
That's actually what I was thinking of that tree and that experience that happened time and time again as one of the greatest benefits that I still think back on of the forest. Was just that sort of natural sort of camaraderie that came together, or support that came together, where children were wanting to personally challenge themselves, but wound up supporting each other in all of their individual challenges. So, it's really interesting in the forest. There are those goals that come about in your mind in ways that, you were saying indoors you can try and recreate that, but there it's just present. So a child says, oh, I want to climb to that branch, and now that's their goal, and now they're using all of their muscles and they're trying to get there, and they're watching other kids, and other kids are telling them, oh, try this, try that, or you've got it, oh, you're really close, how did you get there? And I loved the quick toggling that would happen between a child learning from someone else, seeing someone else, one of their peers, as someone who could give them information, to then toggling to now they have that information and they can pass that along to someone else. And it was so, I saw it as just this cycle of going from I want to challenge myself to feeling empowered to sharing that empowerment with someone else in something as simple as climbing a tree or climbing a fallen tree. It was just shocking to see how quickly that unfolded, in just a 10-minute period.
And then one other thing I want to talk about with the benefits is just, it's not only a benefit for our children, it's a benefit for ourselves. You know, the time that we spend outside, I always feel better when I'm outside. You know, we just spent a week outside at the beach, you know, in a hotel, and like I felt it very drastically, kind of like, okay, we're going inside. But like, it's the air, it's nature, it's just that connection, and it's just that openness. It's also healthy for us as adults and as parents, and it does give us community too. It allows them, I find that a lot of children who might not, you might go into a play space in a group and they might not want to separate from you, they might want to just stay with you, or they're not comfortable in that setting. You take them to the forest and they just go for it. I've seen parents come and they're like, yeah, my daughter, and I'm like, it's fine, whatever works. And then maybe it's the first week, maybe it's the second week, and then that child is that child just feels that comfort, and I think the comfort happens faster than maybe like in other environments where they just feel that comfort to then go and explore and push their limits and find and take those risks and find that confidence. And I've seen confidence in children grow so quickly in the forest, and I've talked to a lot of parents where they're struggling with that with their child, and the forest opens it up for them, just like you were saying. I've heard that so many times. But I also like to make sure that this is not just for our kids, it's really healthy for us to be outdoors too. And you get to create a community for yourself, like Michelle was saying, how she was able to find like-minded families and connect with other parents. Some of our best friends are from the forest, which is great. So we just talked about a lot of the benefits. Yeah. Yeah.
In times that we go a lot to the forest, which we haven't in the last few months for different reasons, but doesn't matter. I find that my days go like that. I pack a lot of food, we go to the forest, and then I have hours of being with other like-minded moms, just talking. So for me, I really have a village. I see many people posting on Facebook and stuff, so where's the village? I know where we should. It's in the forest. You just have to pack the food and go out the door, whatever it is. And all the moms are there, and the children are playing. They're really all the time occupying themselves. And we have time for ourselves to talk, to exchange ideas, to support, to just be there for each other. This is so much fun. And another thing I wanted to add is that because all the parents or all the moms, let's say sometimes there are some dads there as well, are there, and all the kids are there, many friendships develop between parents and children, not necessarily your own children. And I know that my daughter has relationships with some moms that she loves especially, and she will go and share her experiences and her whatever excitements with them, and not necessarily with me, and vice versa. Other kids will come first to me, and then later maybe to their mom, because I don't know, something in my energy is nice for them that day or every day. So, and this is
It does. It creates the village. It creates the village.
socialization. People ask about. So that's how.
Yeah. How are they going to talk to other adults?
Yeah.
You know, how will they feel comfortable with that? Yeah, that's great. So the other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is exploring through your child's eye. And this is something, Sabrina actually wrote a really great blog about this, just how, you know, sometimes you'll go to the forest and, you know, like we might put on our backpack and get our food and we want to just go hiking. We're going to go to this destination, right? We're going to go to the top of the mountain. And you get there and your kids take 3 steps or 10 steps in and they climb a tree for 45 minutes. And that's what happens. And sometimes we have to be mentally prepared for what is our purpose here. You know, are we, you know, our exploration and letting us enjoy the forest through their experience. Because, you know, we might go there and say, okay, I'm going to go on this trail and follow the map and I'm going to go to this location. But for our children, like every step along the way, they're finding another experience, whether it's, you know, a 2-year-old standing in a puddle, stomping in a puddle. And I've had parents, you know, say, you know, maybe the 6-year-old like running because they know there's a tree up there they want to go to, or there's something else that they know is there. And the parents, oh, come on. And I've said, I was like, that puddle's happening right now. Like, there is no need to let that happen. Whether it's for a minute or 10 minutes, like stomp in that puddle and experience it, and enjoy it with them. There's nothing like more exciting for me to really, we experienced puddles, and then when it starts to freeze, there was ice just underneath the puddle. So we had kind of like an ice skating ring with like 2 inches of water. So we were like testing that out. So meanwhile, maybe I would have just walked around the puddle, knowing there was ice there, but the children are experiencing the puddle. So that's just something else, in saying, okay, let's just wait and see what the children are going to do. And sometimes it's hard for people, and that's fine. But it's just another way to experience the forest, is to really, I usually tell the parents, show up, welcome the other parents, and then wait for the children to go. I've had a child, it was probably it's a very memorable moment for me. His first time coming up, he was about 7 years old, and he came running up, and the mom told him I was the leader, and he was like, okay, he's like, hi. He's like, where are we going? And I'm like, I don't know, I'm following you. And he looked at me like, really? And I was like, yeah, where are we going? And his excitement was just so memorable to me, where I was like, yeah. I was like, I'm just here to show you where we are, and let's all go together. Let's go find something. And like his excitement, and just like, I just trusted him to show me where to go, was just priceless to me. And I just love seeing that in kids. Or we'll show up, and my daughters know where we go in a few locations very, very well. And someone new will come, and I remember a girl showed up, and she was like, but Mom, I need water. There's no water, I need water. And my daughter got really honest, I said, no, there's a stream. Come on, I'll show you. And she was like, no, there's no water here. She's like, no, I'll show you. And she showed her where the water is. So it's just those connections, and letting your children, and they kind of own it too. They own their space when they get to know that forest. It becomes a second home to them, and that's a really beautiful thing to witness. And this is the spot that we've been meeting in for the last year, which I've really grown to love, just because we experienced the season so well here with the water. It's a really nice, safe space for us, because there's no big cliffs. We can have toddlers. This water isn't too deep. There are spots that are deep, but it kind of, we'll talk a little bit about challenges and risks, but this space has really just given us a really healthy balance of exploration, and seeing the leaves grow in the spring, and in the summer being, cooler in the forest. I promise you, it's always cooler in the forest. And then fall, the leaves, my daughter finding this, putting it up to the sunlight, it was just like, I would have never done that. It was just such a beautiful moment, having the sun come through that we've, and then the winter, watching this river kind of just freeze, and enjoying that change. So here's just a few from some other groups here. Another group, the group on the left here, they're in New Jersey. They're near the Appalachian Trail, and near apparently some farms. Huh?
That's what's in the front.
Is it? Yeah. And then this one over here, they meet in New Jersey also. It's my friend Hannah. They meet. That is no Lindsay, but yeah. So it's also sometimes in groups, maybe your child will go in a different direction in the group, and that's okay too. Like in the picture on the right, her kids just wanted to go and check out the water here, and that was fine. They weren't with the group, they caught up with the group, but she gave the time for her kids to experience that. Here's just a few examples of what can happen when you kind of let the kids do what they want to do. They will always, some of the things I always see are they will build a structure, guaranteed. They were building a house here and over the fire so that they would be warm in the house. And they were pulling all the sticks out of the river. And on the right here, you can't see it as much there, but she made a broom out of pine needles, a stick, and we had some twine. All of the kids made brooms so that they could sweep in the forest. So it's kind of fun to see what they'll come up with and the creativity that they'll come up with. So gear and what to bring. Another question that is constantly asked, and I'm happy to spend time on this if you guys need. I brought gear because I always have people ask me, well, what do you wear? So I find, if you wear the right clothes, you're going to be outside much longer, right? It's no bad weather, it's just the So You're very excited about the boots. The gear that you wear can really enhance and elongate your play, right? If you're cold in the winter, you're not going to, I'm not staying outside if my fingers are purple. So, you know, and there's lots of different seasons that we need to dress for. And I do tell people, like, it is very much worth getting the gear. It can be a little overwhelming in the sense that I have to get all of the gear, but there's lots of different ways that you can do, you know, finding gear that will work for you. Having waterproof gear is essential to puddle play, river play. These are some of our favorite boots because they're so great against ticks because they come up on your leg and they cinch. Thank you.
And they're light enough for summer.
And they're very light, and the bottom of them are flexible. They're from my. If you have any questions about the gear, I'm happy to talk to you more. We can go over all different options. But those boots I really love, especially from younger kids, because of the flexible foot and the grip that it has. But the tick aspects for me, he's not anti-tick, right? So I just prefer to not pick them off of them, and we just cover up. But those boots are really great because they come up that. She's now going to show you what mommy wears. These are my hiking boots that people are most used to wearing. And these are called gaiters. I actually quite love them. I used to wear rain boots, but when you put the gaiter on, thanks Zoe, it covers your boot. And there's a hook here that will hook on my laces here, and it covers my boot and comes up my legs. So even if it's not raining, I'm protected. Even if it's like a wet forest, I love the forest right after a good rain. You're splashing in puddles or it's just wet, your pants aren't getting wet. I don't have to put on full rain pants if I don't want to. It also gives you another layer of protection from ticks. So this kind of material and rain pant material, the ticks can't grasp onto it, so it will protect you. You gotta put all the gear on? I also think gear can be a lot of fun. We've made it fun in our family, and they really enjoy wearing their balaclavas and getting all their gear on. It's a process, but the benefits, I think, they find worth the while. So this is what I wear. I actually stopped wearing rain boots because I found this much easier. I have a pair of rain pants also that I can wear.
You don't go in the water with it, right?
Huh?
You don't go in the water.
I can go in the water a little bit with my boots. They are like water resistant, but they're not waterproof. So I kind of didn't order it when we put them on. These are my rain gears here. Because this way I can put it in my bag if I don't need it. It's very lightweight, and if it does start raining, I can just take it out and I don't have to be in it. I'm going to move forward to these just benefits of gear. I'm actually wearing your rain boots in this picture. So here's the seasons, right? So in the winter, we have spring, which is generally mud season, as we say. Summertime, and fall. So just in talking about all of these, in the winter, we want to be warm. In the winter, layers are key, and I find we wear these wool base layers. That is really great. They're also great in the summer because they're breathable. I wear wool socks year-round. I have one pair of socks that I wear in the forest all the time. So I know sometimes people can feel gear can get expensive, and it can, but I just wear wool socks all year. So I have 2 pairs of socks. I alternate them, and that's what I wear because it will breathe for you in the summer and it'll keep you warm in the winter. And I just layer a thinner wool sock underneath my thicker wool sock. So, but the wool is really great because I have one child who is going to sweat all the time and will often take her winter coat off. But this will help her breathe a little bit more underneath. And I have another child who is always cold. And if she's cold, she's going to want to be carried and be miserable. So finding their comfort, I find, is really important so that we can all enjoy the forest. So I know that Eliana might take some layers off, and that's fine. And we just talk about how that's going to work for her. And we also talk about, well, if you take all of your waterproof layers off, you may get really cold really fast. And we've experienced it, right? And that's kind of something that I felt was important for them to understand. They've gone in the water without their rain gear, and then they come out and they're cold. And I'm like, yeah. So now we have to change our clothes. This is our last change of clothes, and do you want your rain gear? And then it becomes a very conscious decision of like, yeah, well, I just want to keep playing in that water. So then the gear becomes something that they want. For my youngest, she wears this fleece over her wool, which I really, if I find one of these for myself, will get one. It's amazing. So the fleece over the wool, and then this is probably one of my favorite things ever, is the suit. Thanks, Sarah. You're welcome. So this is great because, and why I love it, is because you just put this over their clothes, and when they're done playing, you take this off and they're clean. So whatever season it is, we can wear these. The only time we don't wear the suit is when it's kind of like 80 and above because it's just too hot. So we just make sure that we wear the high boots. We always are wearing long pants, long sleeves, braid in the hair, hat on in the summer. But for this is great, especially in mud season. You can wear it in the winter. You just put all your layers underneath it. But you get back to the car, and instead of changing all your clothes, you just unzip this, take it off, put it in a bag, and then the child can just go in the car. So these are great. And you don't wash them. You just let them dry, and everything just brushes off of it. So I think I've had this for 2 years. I've maybe washed it once or twice, and they're really durable. We do have a friend that imports some really great gear from Europe. This is Duck's Day. There's like herself and one other retailer in the States that will actually sell these, but they're so durable. The fact that we wear our gear 2 to 3 times a week, and this has been used for 2 years. Still in great shape. So the point being is that gear can often be key to your play. So wool gloves. And we also have rain mittens, which are really great. And I find wearing the wool gloves underneath the rain mittens are good because they have that extra layer of warmth. But in the winter, we need to be bundled up. We need to have those layers, but also be open to the knowledge that your child is going to be warmer than you. That is something to always keep in mind because they're going to be moving a lot more than you are most likely. I wear layers also, and I have a big coat for when they were younger. If you have young ones, put the carrier under the coat, put your coat over them because they're also not moving as much as the walkers. But just keep in mind that everyone has a different temperature, and thinking about the layers that they might need. Mud season is fabulous, and having good boots and having pants that cinch at the bottom, like all of these cinch, and they have loops that will hook on their boots so that it doesn't come up. And this will allow them to really be in the mud and play and not have to worry about that. Summertime, I recommend long pants, especially for protection against the ticks. My boots or high boots for them, covering, and always do a tick check after your play. Just always do tick checks. And if you're not sure how, we actually have on our website articles on how to look for ticks, what to look for, what they look like, how to protect against them. We do use an all-natural bug spray also on top of being covered from the ticks and keep our hair back. So I find that prevention is key to ticks. Yeah.
Sorry,
It's okay. We live in New Jersey. Yeah. Where do you live in New Jersey too? So
state park?
These pictures?
Yeah, like where you normally go.
Where do we go?
Yeah.
We have a reservation that's like 10 minutes from my house that we often go to. It's huge. Lots of different locations there to go to. But we have a lot of them nearly. And that was kind of fun. Like when I moved here, I had no idea New Jersey was so green. It's the garden state. I just only knew the turnpike as a New Yorker. So, but it's just, it's amazing. These pictures are from all different groups. Like the mud one is actually from our Netherlands group in the mud. And I don't remember which is that group there. No. In the summertime, it's not that it's tricky. It's just you have to kind of think of your location. So if you're in a spot, like our spot's under trees, which I love because I don't have to slather us all with sunscreen. We wear a hat, we wear our long sleeves, our long pants, and our boots, and we go. It's not like a lot of people will just be like, oh, it's too hot, I'm not going. I'm like, it's like 10 degrees cooler in the forest. And then in the colder months, it's warmer in the forest because you're protected from the wind, you're protected from the elements. So these are kind of things that I find can be challenges in a way, in the sense that people like are hesitant to go. But if you know the right gear to have and you understand that the conditions are going to be different, then it can change it. Does anybody have any questions about gear before we go into some questions about challenges?
So, Claudine, one thing that we've talked about a lot is how my daughter does not like wearing gear.
Yes.
She would be naked all day long if she could. So, you know, we have, it's just kind of also meeting your child where they're at, and then with the environment where you're at, and sort of needing to, you know, like I love having all of these resources. So I'm like, in my head, I know the like ideal way to prepare your body for any condition. But then I'm also like, okay, and this is where my child's at, and I want to, you know, respect where, you know, what she wants on her body and all of these things too, and her like tuning into her body and kind of talking her through the information I have. But that you know, it has just played out differently just based off of, you know.
I was trying to, I actually have a picture of Eliana and Avery that first winter. I could not get it to not pixelate, but Avery is essentially in, I think she had boots on.
Yeah, she's okay.
Pants.
She likes
had
boots,
on.
yeah.
Yeah, she's wearing them today. She had boots on and pants and like gloves and hat, but like clothes. We're 2 feet deep in the snow. It's like January. Eliana's in her full like snow pants and snowsuit, all that. And the two of them are just hiking up this snowy hill, just like that. And Avery was just fun. And that's the thing, is like you have, like there's a balance. And like even Ellie and Izzy, they're my 2 girls, they're totally different on their temperature needs. Izzy needs like an extra 2 layers than everybody else. Meanwhile, Ellie needs a little less underneath. So I think that's a really great point.
And also
Letting them
all those
experience those elements too, and helping them figure out what it is that they need.
Right, and that's a good point, because I remember that day Avery didn't want to wear her rain pants.
Not until
And
after
used to
she was
go-
wet.
Yeah, to
Then
go
she-
in the
yeah.
river, but then the minute she was wet, she wanted to go home, so she missed the entire day. That's a good experience. She was, okay,
Right.
whatever you like. And yes, we missed the day. We had
Yeah.
to go home 5 minutes later. Or
Yes.
just to go home.
Yeah.
We missed you. And it happens a lot. I feel like every mom will at some point, or many times,
Yeah.
maybe go through this, that the kids want something, you know in advance that will not allow them to enjoy the rest of the day, but they need to experience.
Right.
And what a parallel to life, right? Like
Right.
all these things in life are just, you know, these are not the hard lessons that, you know, we need to kind of, they can just play themselves out. Yeah.
I'm curious, with like gear being costly and kids growing really fast, is there like swapping among the community
there
and
is.
sharing?
There are places like groups that you can swap on, and I don't know if you have local
Thrift shops.
swap groups, thrift shops.
Thrift
Absolutely,
shops are great. You can find, and
lots of
if
stuff
go when one season's ending, another one's starting.
starting. Yep.
Especially one that has just finished, like winter finishing, you'll find tons of winter clothing that you won't use until next year, but it's
Yep.
buy it so that it'll fit them, or hopefully fit them in the future.
Yeah, and that's one reason I like the suits, because they're actually made for them to grow into. So like I bought this and she's worn it for 2 years. So and it was $75. But to me, 2 years of use 3 times a day, 3 times a week, that's pennies. But yeah, there are swaps and people do swap gear and finding boots. I always have extra gear in my trunk too. I've had parents show up and they're like, oh, I've forgotten that. I'm like, here, this goes. You know, like we figure it out. And that's part of creating that community.
And we also didn't, for ourselves at least, we didn't stock up on all our gear in one shot.
No.
You know, like, oh, we're going in, here's the checklist. It's like, what do we have around the house? Let's test it out. Let's see what we feel like we need. And then let's add bit by bit, you know, because you can kind of just test out what's right for you and what you feel like you would need at that given time as well. So it feels a little slower into an accumulation of everything.
So going over some challenges. Now I chose this photo because this was just an amazing day where that river that we were just looking at was kind of trickly when we first got there, and then we got this big amount of rain, and it was just gushing that day, and Eliana was determined to cross it. So I just love this photo for the fact of challenges. But you know, we've talked about some of them so far: ticks, gear. You know, are there any other challenges that you would like to talk about or discuss? You know, risk taking in your environment and climbing trees or cliffs or anything like that.
I imagine I assume that when this is presented and you have new parents that want to come and they're probably, some of them are very, you ever go to the park and you get the parent that's sitting there, don't touch that stick and get out of that puddle, and everybody's just so afraid of their kid getting dirty and touching sharp things. And so do you ever have to, you know, I guess tackle that? Just you have the parent that's still doing that even though they kind of know what you're about.
Personally, in my group, I've had some people come where they're, you know, cautious and, you know, they don't want them. But what happens is it's kind of like leading by example. When they see all the kids getting dirty and that it's okay, or I'll just, you know, a lot of times they'll talk to me about it, and I'll talk to me like, well, you know, do you have extra clothes, or can I help you? Do you have a towel? I always keep a towel in my bag. But yeah, absolutely. I've even had leaders who, like, people who want to start a group, and they're like, what do I do about the parents that, you know, don't? And I'm like, you know, it's a learning process for us all. And I think it's a different environment that a lot of people are just not used to. They're not familiar with it. And what we can do is kind of lead, show by example, and help them be calm and help them experience the mud. You know, mud season's a big deal for a lot of people. Like it's muddy, you know, and there's no way. Just kind of like if there's water, your child will be in it.
I'm
So
sure the kids like being muddy though.
yeah, right. And it's
Mud's
a great.
not going to kill you.
No, but there's a lot of people.
Actually healthier.
It's very healthy.
Exactly.
But it's also a lot of people are not fearful, but they're just not sure how to handle it.
They haven't experienced it.
Yeah, they haven't had
Live
that
in the city,
experience.
or people who live in the city just don't understand that there's really not that much that's really going to hurt you unless you just really get crazy, which can happen.
Yes.
So I have another question. My girls are older, and we live in an area that has sort of a nature preserve, and so take huge walks everywhere. They take their friends for walks, and as they've gotten older, their friends, you know, they've shown them where things grow that you can, you know, harvest, foraging, like different times of year. Like right now it's pawpaw season, and they, you know, look at the trees, and they never knew that they were growing there or that you could eat them. So it's just kind of fun for them to be able to educate their friends, and, you know, I'm sure they go home and, you ate what? Out of the what? It's not from the store, and it's just shocking to some people. But do you ever get the chance to forage with them and find like blackberries in August? Or
Yeah, we do find some berries in our location, and we have one thing that was really great this year is the skunk cabbage that we harvested.
Yeah.
But in our groups, everyone was finding it, and the snow was still kind of there. And it was fascinating. I had no idea that it actually will warm up to 75 degrees to melt the snow around it, so the plant can grow.
wow.
So we weren't harvesting it, but we learned a lot about this plant. It's like the first plant that grows in the season, and yeah, that kind of stuff is really great. And we also did do a forage. We organized an event where we had somebody come and take us through our area and show us all the different things that you could harvest.
Okay, one more.
Yeah.
What about, do you go during different times of the day, like maybe at nighttime and hear the peepers in the spring? Or...
We don't yet because we're asleep.
I mean, you can't see, but you can't see the kids either. But I was just wondering.
We have. I mean, generally we go in the morning. It's just the best time for my family to go. The afternoons are just a little more challenging. And that's one of the things that I talk to people, like, just please, you know, make it work for your family. Don't try, you know, when someone's looking to start a group, I'm like, what works for you? Is morning better? Is afternoon better? We have, you know, so groups start because the afternoon's best for my family. I have a group that's starting right now because their kids are actually in school, but they want them to be outdoors. So they're starting a group that's at 3:30. So yeah, and I think that's an important thing, but we've definitely experienced it through the different seasons. And when we go, we're usually there no less than 2 hours. I would say, like, it's often we're there for 3 or 4 hours. So challenges. We've talked a little bit about ticks. I always recommend prevention is key, but also knowing how to get them off and how to deal with that, and just kind of educating yourself of your environments. Every location is different, and all of the things that you're going to come across are different. I've had readers ask me about snakes. We have California, we have scorpions, so rattlesnakes. But also, when I scout a location, like I talked to you about this, the spot that Leon's in now, this is usually you only see rocks and a little bit of water. And this is really great for the toddlers and the young kids in our group because they can go and they can explore the water and they can experience wet rocks and they can do all of that play in a safe environment where the parent doesn't have to worry about them plunging into the river. On the other side of this bridge, there are parts that will go just about up to my oldest shoulders. And the reason I know that is because the children explored the water. The older children went into the water and they walked around the water, they used sticks, they found out how deep it was, and they experienced what the risks was in that area, and they figured out what the water was. So it's interesting that I scouted this area, yes, with my girls, but at the same time the children, I didn't just go in and say, okay, this is the space. They went and they figured out their space, and that's something that is another challenge for parents. We're letting their children do that. That's right? And that's one thing is that when they see our kids going in the water, it gives them a different level of comfort because they see other children doing it, and we're kind of there to support each other, and that's where the community of the parents come to. Where I can tell everybody, my kids have experienced this water, they're showing them where the deep parts are, I'll tell them where it is to give them some comfort, and then they let their child explore. So I think that's one way that we can support each other in our community. When you have a group that meets regularly and you are together in the community and you have somebody new come in, that we can help those families experience it in a comfortable way. Climbing trees, I just love this photo of the younger kid down in the ground, and then there's a kid I don't know if he's in a tree, halfway up a tree there, which is great. My oldest daughter loves to go mudsliding if it rains. We have some great hills that are just mud, so that's a challenge to some people. It's just my daughter starts sliding down the mud, and everyone starts sliding down the mud, and they're like, oh. So and I'm like, do you have extra clothes for me here? Because this is happening. And then just the third picture is letting your child explore and have a little distance. That's something that is much easier to do in the forest, I feel, because there is so much space and we have some great locations where the kids can feel safe going away from us. Kind of like in this environment, I love that our kids can be free in this space and safe in this space, but in the forest you can give them that same thing, where you're not worried about people who don't understand that it's fine if my child goes down the aisle in a supermarket or goes over to get something over here. I had a friend who's, somebody came up to her, you're going to lose your child. Someone's going to steal your child. And she's like, what? They're getting box of cereal. Or whatever. This environment is just really great where they can experience that and you're not going to have kind of those judgments coming at you, and just let your child be free and explore.
You can always tell the new people, like myself, who's always like, your kid is climbing the tree.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Paint, mud, exploring. We do groups in the forest, and we bring materials and we create. We give the kids a few items that we bring, and they use sticks as paintbrushes, or they use leaves for creating something. I love doing this outside. Because number one, everyone has enough space to work. Everyone has their own creative space. They work together. They work individually. They can just do whatever. I've had paint flinging all over the place, and it's fine. And the cleanup is great. The rain just cleans it all up. We take all our supplies with us. We don't leave any trace behind. But it's really a nice thing. I mean, the kids love it. I mean, they would love to do it in my living room too. But for the parent, it's like, God, it's great. You know, it's like you're in this open space. There's a lot less cleanup. We paint in the house too, but there's a lot less cleanup. So this was just another thing that kind of struck me is like for some parents, they really love this just because not everyone is comfortable with that happening in their home. But it's really great to be outside and creating that way. And also, it's a great way to experience texture. You know, it's very easy for kids to. I've had kids who've had some sensory challenges, and they can come to the forest and they can experience it in the way that they need to overcome their challenges. Does anybody want to talk about any experiences of overcoming challenges, or add anything to this, or have any questions?
I mentioned one thing, and it's not as important if you're close to someplace, but if you're going hiking, especially in the winter, remember hypothermia. Which is, and unless you're a long ways away, it's probably not a big issue. If you get too cold, though, your body can shut down, and it does become critical that you get warmed up. So it's something that can be, especially if you're out very far from your car, or if you're out hiking somewhere.
Yeah, I usually recommend, especially in the winter, I tell parents, like, expect to be out for an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, especially on the really, really cold days. You're just not going to be out for as long.
And I see some kids, like sometimes when I go, it'll be during the thaw and the kids jump in the water or something like that. And it's cold. And the parents who haven't really prepared their kids, those kids get cold really fast and they leave. And it's, I kind of feel bad for them, but waterlogged boots are no fun.
I mean, it doesn't get that cold here, generally, but we will, if we're planning on going out, we will go out unless there's road closures or like a tornado, hurricane, blizzard, where like the roads are closed. If the schools are closed, that's fine. We'll still go out, but if there's a governmental road closures, we're gonna stay home. But if we have the gear for it, we'll experience it, but it might be 10, 15 minutes.
10 minutes better than an hour.
Yeah. There's the group up in Minnesota. They have a space where in the winter they meet where they have an indoor space to go to. So they can still be outdoors for a little while, but then they go inside and they can have that option. But yeah, and same thing in the summer. I mean, you have to stay hydrated. You have to make sure that in the high heat, even though it is cooler in the forest. But yeah, that's a good point too. And also with the kids, I recommend not going too far. Like, don't go on that hike up the mountain with a group in that sense, unless that's the whole group's decision. Because, like I said, when we're following our children, it's often that they're going to stop, 2 minutes in and climb a tree for 45 minutes. You don't want to go all the way in and find the tree an hour in and then have to get back in that sense. So you want to kind of look at those things too.
Right.
Right?
Some of the best spots are right next to the car.
Right.
Like the tree between.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So at the parking lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the gate is usually at the parking lot.
Yeah, you don't have to always go so far to have that experience. So gathering as a group, these are just some pictures of our groups here. And this is kind of what we do, like in the beginning when I shared, I just share how we got our group started. And it's just a way to kind of empower the people and say, yes, you can do this. And I just coach people on picking their day, their time, helping them find a location, and and just giving them the resources that they need. Our website is open and free to anyone with tons of information on gear, bug spray, winter gear, overcoming challenges, all of these kind of things. We hear from our leaders, and then if we don't already know the research, we research it and we write about it because we want everyone to benefit from that. Helping. Yes, and that's what Sabrina does. And also, like, Melissa had a group and she had a lot of teens, and we had to kind of manage the teen-toddler concept of a group, right? So how do you let the teens go and yet keep the toddlers safe and have those different dynamics?
We'll try it.
So I welcome you guys to check out, it's just barschoolforall.com. Yep.
Oh, by the way, we also, my group, I'm really scared of the woods. I'm scared of the woods. I grew up in Brooklyn. I really am not familiar with the woods. So I was able to get a group together, and we did more of like an urban forest, kind of like you could see the highway. That's where we were. That's our comfort zone. So and our group was really weird because if it got too cold, we were like, nobody's coming. Because we weren't like all weather kind of people. We were like, it's too cold. We just wouldn't meet. So it just, you get the group together. I think the important part is the bonding and the like-mindedness, and that you do get out in nature more than you did before. So.
It's a journey for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is, some people are like, oh, I can't hike. And I'm like, that's fine, you don't have to hike. It's just about being outside and finding the space that works for you and your environment. I've had families say, well, I live in DC, I live in the city. And I'm like, well, what outdoor space do you have? Like, it's just a matter of being outside and enjoying nature.
And in fact, sitting here, 50 yards away, there's a white-tailed deer feeding right outside the windows.
Wow.
Yeah. Just 10 minutes ago.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, when I walked over there in that space, my girls were like, can we go out there? So pretty.
I have a question about navigating play. So I have a lot of boys in our group, or we did in California now. And stick fighting, or lots of weapons, and even very violent reenactments of just, some parents couldn't handle that. And so how do you, I don't know, do you experience?
Of course. I mean, it happens. And I try to help people understand, like, how would you handle it if you were at a playground? How would you handle it if you were at a play date? Where we have to just communicate as parents and figure it out in kind of the same way. It's hard because you're not always dealing with the same parenting styles, and some parents aren't okay with it. So
right, we're
very free with it. Like, it's a stick, use it. Like, don't touch the stick.
Right.
And it can be challenging. And it's a sense of like, I have to wait until I get to know that parent a little bit, and maybe I'll talk to them and be like, what are your concerns, what are your worries, and kind of help them understand what their fears are and how we can make it work for everyone. And but I think some of those challenges are great for the kids to experience too, in the sense of like one kid wants to play with sticks, and the other kid does not want to hit sticks. So we have to find another child that does. So I think that's part of just navigating, life in the sense of like, okay, well, let's find a way for you to do that because we're in a space that you can. But it's absolutely challenging. Like, I don't have the magic answer as to how to fix it, other than it's just like anything else. But I think the power of a stick is strong. We have a blog post about that, which is where we posted it. It was like on our Facebook group. Sabrina shared something about the power of a stick and how magical it can be for a child to use a stick in so many different ways.
We had a similar situation in our group. We had a group of moms from war-torn countries who were recent immigrants, and then we had a group of kids who were using sticks as guns and pretending to shoot each other, and this was so devastating and hard for the moms to deal with. So we just needed to foster a conversation amongst the moms. And of course, the moms whose kids were playing with guns, they totally understood, and were able to empathize, and then were able to have a conversation on the way home, and during the week with their kids. And by the end of the week, they told me that their kids felt like that it wasn't necessary to use guns, big guns in the forest. Like they just had to bring them along, in understanding how other people are affected by that and stuff. So it's just a conversation, and it worked itself out, thank goodness.
I think that's all part of the experience, though, is how do we overcome those challenges and figuring that out as a community, right? And with my groups and with a lot of groups, once you start meeting regularly, you start to get regulars, and you all figure it out. You become that village, you become that community, and we have boys in our group. They love playing with sticks, and we've had sticks and kids, and we have to figure it out and help teach them those boundaries too. Because a stick in the eye can hurt. So, but then there's also boys where any child who just wants to hit a stick, they can hit it against the tree. They can find another child that wants to hit sticks and play swords, and they can do it. And it's a space, and I think that's an important thing to realize is that there's the accent. See, she's talking about Noah hit somebody with a stick. They were playing with sticks, but I think it's important that they have that space to do it. That it's not stifled. That it's not said no, you can't. And that they're allowed to have that energy, because there's nowhere else, especially in our society, and we all understand that, right? It's just, you can't get that outlet. And I think that's one of the magical things of the forest, is that it's an outlet for whatever your child needs. We saw the child in the small space, we saw the child in the open space, we see the child up in the tree, see the child in the water, skipping rocks, whatever it is that they need, and it can differ day to day, that's what they can have. So,
I think also, a lot of times these conversations about safety happen just between the adults, and as a leader of a group like this, you're able to be a facilitator of how to have that conversation with the kids, and to say, we have some community concerns, let's sit down and talk about it, and then to say, some of the parents are afraid of this, what do you guys think? What are the things as a kid playing that you think that are rules that we should all agree on, or community agreements, and to sort of empower the kids to be part of that conversation, and to at the same time be modeling for new parents that this is not a scary decision you have to make as an adult, but that as a group we can come to a consensus. And it gives the kids a lot of power to then be able to do that on their own when a parent says, wait, watch out, that looks really scary. And the kids can say, wait, we already talked about this, but we need to go that high, or I'm going to look out for him when he's coming, and he's going to look out for me. And to sort of build that in as part of the natural communication of the community.
yeah, and that's what very much organically happens within the group, is that happens, and especially when the children get further away, and I find when they're in the same space frequently and they kind of own their space, they can go off and they figure all that stuff out without us, and it's very powerful for them to experience. But yeah, like you said, building that group and that village community, it does help us with all of those challenges. It gives us the outlet to do those things, right? To communicate and overcome things together. Are there any other questions that anybody might have or want to discuss?
One last thing about the reindeer. We use it actually all the time. We have 5 across the street from our house, so we go every weather. And because she likes especially to play in the mud near the water there, so I just, we'll just put it on, and then as I said, we get home and take it off, so we can go to the playground any weather, and we can play with everyone everywhere, because I'm not concerned about her messing up her outfit and then having to
think it's a good way to like find like-minded parents is to go out in the bad weather. Right?
The diehard.
Right.
Yeah, we had a group of like 8 or 10 families that first winter that we met. We went like every week. It was like such an amazing winter, and yeah, you get close in the winter when you're out in the snow. But, just to kind of like explain what we do a little bit, and like I said, we have some leaders here. Is we're really just here to help people understand that you can be outside and give you the resources to make you feel comfortable to be outside. And we help parents become leaders. A lot of people will say, well, I can't lead a group. And I'm like, well, can you show up once a week? That's what you have to do, right? I'm like, all you have to do is show up, because we go to a public park, people show up and the kids lead. It's just we're kind of organizing the play date, not at the playground, but in the forest. And that's what we're here for, to help support you with and set it up. We do give all our leaders a website so that it makes it easier for them to promote their group and kind of handle the technology aspect of it, because that was one of my biggest challenges when I started my group, was figuring out how to communicate with people who are on all these different platforms that are available to us this day. So that's why we created the website, to make it easier for people to communicate with each other. And that tool is there for our leaders. And we do our groups for free. Our Explorer groups are free for people to come to. Our passion is really to help people be outdoors, and to just test it out, right? It's like you don't want to pay for something and then not go. So that's really important to us to give people that. So thank you everybody for coming and participating and hearing your stories. And thank you, Elaine, for coming.
Remember, I've got a room full of teens sleeping and waking up.
It's okay. Yeah.
For those looking at it, I'm sure you've got lots of resources on your website. Another resource for gear for buying, there's a company called Sierra Trading Post. And if you get on their emailing list, they have some fantastic sales on their stuff. To the point where it's 60, 80, 90% off.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sierra.
Sierra, like it's Sierra. SierraTradingPost.com.
Yeah.
There are others as well. I get emails daily from them on their specials.
Yeah.
They're really a good resource if you for mail order.
I'd like to also share. I just came back from living actually in the forest in India for a year, in a community like this, but living in the forest. And I'm giving a talk later this afternoon at 1:30 if anyone wants to hear another side of this.
I'm excited about that. So, anything else anyone want to talk about? The only other challenge, I guess, that I could bring up too is, that was brought up last year, is that what do I do if my kid doesn't want to go to the forest? Okay? One of the things we do is we pair up leaders with a co-leader. So you have a partner, or if you can't go, you can still go, have somebody else go for you. But I think that's just the challenge that we have when you have more than one person that you're going anywhere with, right? In our family, it's very rare that it happens. In the winter, didn't always want to go, but we've managed to make it fun for them and figure out what's important to them. So when we go and I scout a location to find a spot, they're part of that. And it's kind of a group decision when we go and we look for locations and we talk about what's there and what we like, what we don't like, and I make it a point that it's not me saying we're going to go to the forest, that it's us, like we want to. And there's been weeks where we usually take a week off in between seasons, because like our groups that paint and create in the forest, we take a week or two off. They ask for it the week that we're not going. They're like, are we going to the forest? Like, we're going to go? And I'm like, no, we can, but like Mama needs a week to prep for the next season. So I think that's an important aspect, like for us, is we make it a family decision, and they're part of the entire process of doing that. And I think it's okay if your child does not want to go in the forest and it's 20 degrees. Like, it's okay. It's a great experience if you do it, but I think take the pressure off of like we have to. But it was raining yesterday, and both my girls were like, "Where are my boots? I have to go in the water." So it's I think it's hearing our children as we all do, and understanding them, and helping them find, like Sabrina was talking about, respecting her daughter's need to not have gear, and that's what she needed to go in the forest. So.
I would imagine also like it's okay if you want to go sit in the car for 10 minutes and chill out and have a different environment.
And part of the village aspect is there were times where when she was younger, I was not happening, but Eliana wanted to go. So, but I had a village to do that with. I went, and Eliana went with the other moms, and I was able to stay with her in the car and be with her and give her what she needed and let my other daughter go. So creating that community and that village really allows our family to enjoy the things that we want, even if it's two separate things. So I think creating that community has been very powerful for me, especially when I moved, not knowing anybody, and I've met some really amazing people being outdoors with them. So thank you all for coming and for your input and sharing, and I was really happy to share this with all of you.